Star Wars universe. And we're showing you our bounty hunter class. We're actually showing you the female bounty hunter, which we haven't shown before. Special reveal. There you go. Bounty hunter with bosoms. Hooray.
She's kind of hot.
She is, if you like girls in video games that aren't real. But that's cool, man. That's fine. In any case, as a bounty hunter, you're here to try and win entry into the Great Hunt. It's a contest sponsored by the Mandalorians to find the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy. In keeping with the traditional bounty hunters from the film, your motivation here is personal and it's mercenary. Now, we announced recently that this is the first ever fully voiced MMO. What that means is that every player character, both a male and a female version, every NPC, every quest giver, everyone you talk to in the game has full, high-quality voiceover. End-to-end, this is an epic Bioware and Lucas storytelling experience. Now, you're about to talk with this guy, Brayden. He's your mentor. This is the first conversation that you have in the Old Republic as a bounty hunter.
We're almost set up. See if you can't get that security network running, Mako.
Sure thing, Brayden. We'll be, hey now.
Hey, indeed. The main attraction is here. Team, this is the girl we're pinning all our hopes on. Best shot I've ever seen in Nerves of Steel. She's great hunt material, all right. What do you say, Hunter? Ready to meet your team?
Now, you can see Jake is making a choice here. As Blaine referred to in the past, if you play Bioware games, you know what this means. It not only changes your immediate story, it changes the way that NPCs treat you later in the game.
My team. I like the sound of that.
Get used to the idea. To win the Great Hunt, you'll need support, structure, intel. Let's do things official-like. This is Mako, little genius I picked up years ago in Nar Shaddaa. She provides intel and tech.
Hope you're as good as the old man says.
And the big bruiser is Jory. He handles the heavy lifting and provides security for our base of operations.
Nice
to meet you both. Let's get to work.
All right, enough introductions. Down to business. We're here because the Great Hunt has been called. Little Mako is the most rabid fan of hunter history this side of Geonosis, and even she doesn't know exactly what the Great Hunt entails.
I do know the names of every great hunt winner, though. Bloodworthy, the Defenestrator, Jewel Nightbringer.
Every bounty hunter who's won a great hunt went on to massive glory and riches, which is why we're here.
Personally, I'm just here to kill people and cause damage.
Dallas, she sounds kind of high maintenance to me.
I think she's a little. I don't think you need to date her, Blaine, in your weird world that you live in that isn't reality. Anyway, that is your first conversation in the Old Republic, folks. Every conversation in the game is going to be like that one. Great dialogue, compelling choices, and cinematic digital acting. This has been another place that Bioware has been a leader over the years, putting cinematic acting into the game. Now, as we step outside, I'm going to talk a little bit about our art style. We've been referring to this as stylized realism. The idea is to create a world that is very unique, very evocative of Star Wars in the Old Republic era, but it's not tied down to photorealism. And I think you're going to see that as we show you the planet Hutta. So there you go, folks. That is Hutta. It's the home of the Hutts, as you might have guessed. Although it wasn't originally their planet. They actually moved in, enslaved the existing population, changed the name of the planet because they're very classy people, and then turned it into a bit of a toxic waste dump. Lots of gases and noxious fumes there.
And then did they dress all the women in the little bikini thing?
I don't know if they did that. You seem to have a fixation here, Blaine, and I think we should move past it. In any case, off in the distance, you can see the palace of Nemro the Hutt. He's the warlord in charge of this particular section of the planet. In charge is maybe a stretch because there's a whole lot of gangland violence in the streets, which we're about to cause. I think this is going to be your first look at combat in the Old Republic. Obviously, the bounty hunter is a ranged class. She has a blaster. She has some rockets at her disposal. We want to make sure your combat is as iconic as your story. It has to feel like a bounty hunter's combat system. So things we remember from the bounty hunters, they have some gadgets they can use. So when she doesn't want to take on 3 at a time, starts off with a little stun dart, then comes up close and takes them out with a flamethrower. Obviously, she wants to maintain range, but if she has to get up close, she handles it the way a bounty hunter should. Now, you notice that Jake is taking on multiple enemies at once here. This is a part of the game. We want to make sure that you feel like a hero from the beginning. So you'll take on groups of 2, groups of 3, even 4, very early on. We just make sure you have the tools to handle that kind of combat. Another look at that flamethrower because it's hot. You see what I did there with the hot? That's funny.
I do, I see.
Yeah, it's not funny. Anyways, this is what we're talking about. This is heroic Star Wars combat that feels like the iconic class you think of when you think of the films. Now we're going to jump over and show you a second class here. We'll get back to the Bounty Hunter in a minute.
All right, so the next class we're going to show you here we first talked about at E3, and this is, of course, our Smuggler class. Now, you can quickly identify where this guy's taken from. Looks a lot like Han Solo from the movies. And so this means that, of course, he is the scrappy, jaded underdog who always comes out on top, no matter the odds stacked against him. And, of course, this guy always gets the girl, maybe even the hot bounty hunter chick.
You really need to drop this whole fixation on virtual girls.
Now, we start out on the planet of Ord Mantell here, and Ord Mantell is a war-torn planet in the Star Wars universe. You saw destroyed Walker there in the background. And basically, there are some separatists that are duking it out with the Republic here, and our mission as a smuggler is to run guns to the Republic side and help them out. Now, let's see what combat looks like with our smuggler. All right, so we quickly established he's a ranged class, that trusty blaster at his side, if you will. Now, one of the important things about our game is every class, we want every class to play, feel, look different. And so in thinking about, how we could make the smuggler special, we had to think about what Han Solo does in the movie. So Dallas, could you do a little reenactment?
I think he does a lot of this. Maybe he peeks around corners and stuff. Yeah, he's not really a tough toe-to-toe fighter, our Han Solo.
No, he is not. So, what we've come up with is the first ever cover system of its type in an MMO, which you see here. Now, it's often disputed, but some may say that
Han shoots first, and that's what we're going to show you right here. That's right. Han shoots first.
All right, so you can see Jake has taken cover here, and the way that works is he's targeted an enemy, and then we get some indicators in the world that show us cover points. And we can switch between cover points, which we just saw there. And once we have established ourselves in a good cover position, we can then fire on the enemy. Now you may notice above the enemy's head there's a green indicator. It just tells us that we have a defensive bonus against that enemy because we found a good cover point. Another thing to notice here as we go into cover again is watch that quick slot bar at the bottom of the screen. You'll notice we have different abilities based on whether we are in cover or not. So just one more advantage. Nice flashbang there. And following that up with a special ability called Barrage, able to fire very rapidly with the blaster at multiple enemies. Now, of course, the smuggler has to have his own signature style if he's being close to an enemy. So what do we have here? Yeah.
He's a classy guy. He is a classy fellow.
There you go, folks. Dirty kick followed by a headshot. Excellent. So, great look at our smuggler there, but we're going to move ahead and show you a third class and third planet now. Dallas, take it away.
All right, now this class was just recently revealed at Gamescom. This is the Sith Warrior, everybody. This is the hotness. So we've shown you a couple of ranged classes thus far, but you can't show a Star Wars game without a little bit of lightsaber combat. So that's what you're going to see with the Sith Warrior here. He starts on the planet of Korriban. Again, if you played the original Knights of the Old Republic, as it sounded like a few of you had, you'll remember Korriban. It is a Sith stronghold. It's actually where they train their young Sith, and this is why you're here. You're learning to channel the dark side of the Force. Now, you're going to actually be entering an ancient tomb here. These have been excavated numerous times, and you're going to try and recover some very powerful artifacts down there. There's some pretty nasty enemies along the way, though, and you're going to have to deal with them in a way that only a Sith warrior can.
And I just want to point out, who better to go into an ancient evil tomb than Deep Crow?
Oh, yeah. Bring it, Deep. There you go. So, you saw him do the Force charge there. As I mentioned before, we want to make sure these classes feel like what you remember from the movies. And everybody remembers Darth Vader doing that when fighting Luke in Cloud City in Empire Strikes Back. As a Sith warrior, you want to close quickly. You want to charge in and do a whole lot of damage up close. Very nice. Now we're taking on a couple of melee enemies, but we're also going to see what he does when he has to deal with folks at range. Obviously, he needs to be able to deal with that situation as well. Unless Jake just killed them that fast. We're going to kill one more group here. And you're going to be able to see what happens when you have multiple enemies surrounding you. We keep talking about that. You can see he's actually carrying the guys behind him while he deals damage to the ones he's targeting. This is all part of that heroic combat, the ability to take on multiple enemies and then do a whole lot of damage very quickly when you need to.
Man, I just gotta say, that guy kicks ass.
That guy kicks a lot of ass. All right, we're going to see a little bit more of the Sith Warrior here. So you haven't had your full fill of Sith Warrior, but we're going to take a pause.